Adam, no doubt you were interested as I was when Carl was speaking recently. Anthony Joshua, can we touch on this, Carl?
Absolutely.
Joshua doesn't need to retire, but I would say that AJ is past his best, and on the slide, maybe it niggles him that he's probably got no real legacy. He's not in the Hall of Fame, unlike the Cobra.
Unlike the Cobra, getting inducted next month. Rob McCracken's coming out with me as well, which I'm quite happy about. Listen, I say quite a few things that are a little bit tongue-in-cheek because it gets people listening. But I also talk the truth, and I'm not afraid to talk the truth. Now, I just think if Anthony Joshua was to retire now, what would he be remembered for? He'd be remembered for beating an old Klitschko that had been sat on the sofa for 18 months, and he climbed off the canvas to do it in a great win, yes. But he'd not be a best version of Klitschko. And then people are going to remember him for losing to the fat kid from Mexico, Ruiz. And I've got to say he's a fat kid from Mexico because in the rematch, he turned up like a fat disgrace. He was overweight, he was ill-prepared, and he looked a mess. And, okay, AJ got the win and won his titles back, which is job well done, box tick, brilliant. But don't forget, he got absolutely beat up and knocked out and stopped in the first fight. So that's still a taint on his record. Okay, put it right. But then what's he remembered for? 2 losses to Alexander Usyk. All right, one of the best fighters to ever live and breathe the sport. Brilliantly talented. But he's a cruiserweight, coming up to heavyweight. So if you look at his legacy now, there's nothing to shout and scream about. And when I'm asked the question, what are your thoughts on the Deontay Wilder fight? I think the way Anthony Joshua fights at the minute, which is a bit nervous, a bit scared, is not offensive, is not aggressive, is not tenacious like he used to be, like when he come back from that left hook that wobbled him against Dillian Whyte, and when he climbed off the canvas against Klitschko in front of, I think there was like 80,000 fans at Wembley Stadium that night. Not quite the bigger number that they make out. I saw some empty seats at the top. But anyway, that performance was great, and that was a brave performance of someone who was a bit naive, just fighting from the heart. Since he lost to Usyk, the Ruiz loss actually, I think took a piece of his soul, and the Usyk losses, I just think he can't seem to get any momentum. He's not brave. He's almost like the lion out of Wizard of Oz, and I just feel like he needs some help. He needs the right corner man and the right training camp and the right sparring. Sparring's got to be hard. And if he gets through the right sparring, he gets some confidence. I think the Dillian Whyte fight's a good fight for him. I think if he fights Dillian Whyte and does a job on him, people are going to start to believe and think, right, okay, he's ready. But if he jumps in with Deontay Wilder straight away, he's getting knocked out.
Wow, Carol, you are flying this lunchtime. You agree with all of that, Adam?
I want to ask Carl whether he thinks Anthony actually likes fighting. And there's a difference between liking fighting and liking boxing. I know that Carl likes a fight. Do you think Anthony actually likes a fight? I refer back to that Klitschko fight, and he went to a place in that particular fight that obviously he ended up coming through, but I don't think he ever wants to go back to that point of which has made him the guy that we see today. So do you think that when it comes down to it, would he have a little bit of a go on the cobbles, in your opinion?
I'm not sure deep down anybody particularly likes fighting. I think it's not in our human nature to actually have. You'd rather walk away from a fight than have a fight, unless there's something not right in your head. You're better off walking away and not having a fight. Do you really want to risk getting knocked out or getting punched in the face? You'd rather say, you know what, actually, there's a way out here, but you don't want to back down if you're a fighting man. I don't think Anthony Joshua is a natural fighter, and he didn't start boxing until he was quite old. He didn't box as a child like I did from 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 years old. So he finds it hard when he's up close in punching range, just letting shots go subconsciously because he hasn't got that experience from being a young child amateur, like 10, 11, 12, 13-year-old, because he never boxed at that age. So because he finds it difficult, I don't think he enjoys it. So this is why I think he's adopted to get behind his jab and box and stay out of harm's way and try and win these fights at the end of his jab.
Is it about a preparedness, Carl, to go to a certain space? If you go to the abyss, sometimes you've got to look into it, and to win fights like you did against John Pascal or you had to do against Kessler, and to do the things you did against Jermaine Taylor, you had to go to a certain place and be prepared to go to that place. I personally don't think, and I think Adam's the same, that Joshua's prepared to go to that place anymore, which means he takes himself out of harm's way.
I agree, and that's why he's adapted his boxing style to opt to try and box and move. And Rob McCracken said to him before the Usyk fight, you can't try and outbox this guy. You can't box him.
Yeah.
It's not going to work. You can't outbox somebody who's a cruiserweight who's lighter than you because they're going to be faster than you. You know he's more skillful. 300 odd amateur fights, only lost 2 or 3.
Yeah.
Undisputed unified cruiserweight champion. So you're a foot taller and you've got a longer reach and you're 2-3 stone heavier. Get on him, lean on him, punch him, smash his head in. I don't want to be aggressive, but this is a barbaric sport. And you have to be aggressive. You have to push it on them and let them know they're in deep water. And AJ never did that against Usyk. And I don't think now he's got the confidence or the self-belief to get in there and stick it on his opponent, and that's what he needs to do. Certainly before he jumps in there with someone like Deontay Wilder, who is an absolutely brutal animal. He's a machine, and he looks to just hit you on the chin with that big right hand and rendering you unconscious as early as possible.
Listen, Carl, we've loved your company this lunchtime. Thank you so much for being with us. Adam, you're going to stay on for our final part today. One thing I wanted to ask you, Carl, now that I see you in Sky Sports a lot with George Groves, do you like each other now?
Yeah, we do actually. He's a cool guy, you know.
How did that happen?
I don't know. It took a few years, and he walked into one of the Sky broadcasts into like the talent meeting or the production meeting before you go on air. He walked in. I was like, "Oh, I've been stitched up here. That's George Groves. Is that definitely George Groves? Because he got hair and he put a bit of weight on. But it was George Groves. And I got out my chair straight over, went over, shook his hand. We had a good chat. And my brother had actually spoke to him outside because him and my brother Lee had a bit of beef before as well. My brother's 8 years. So
I remember that.
That's all done.
Yeah.
No, we had a chat.
You're chums now.
He's got kids. We've got a lot in common, and we've done this little tour where we've like Froch Grove 1 and 2, where we do meet and greets and talk about the first fight, talk about the second fight.
Brilliant.
And yeah, we get on fine, and it is genuine. It's not just.
Love that.
Yeah, no.
Simon Jordan and I are not at that stage yet. We still have a strong dislike of each other. Carl Froch with us this lunchtime. Thanks so much, Carl, for being with us.
Pleasure.
Jim White and Simon Jordan. Monday to Friday mornings from 10 on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.